Hello YouTube, Steve Pat with General Pat Bushcraft back with you friends. I got another super exciting video. Today's video is the recap of Alone Season 11, Episode 4. Stay tuned. Okay friends, this is the official recap of Season Alone Episode 4 titled Legacy. Remember, they're up there in the Arctic Circle, and every show starts with a famous quote from a famous person. And this one, the quote is, "There is no education like adversity." And that's from Benjamin Disraeli. All right, friends, let's get right into the recap. There's 8 people left, and it's day 8 now. The show starts on day 8 at 10:41 in the morning, and the show goes right to Dusty. It's 42 degrees. Dusty is 35 years old from Arkansas, USA, and it's hair washing day for Dusty. He's got a handful of horsetail fern, real rough stuff, and he scrubs his hair. We see him scrub his hair, wash his hair with that horsetail fern, and then he turns the camera off to wash his body, friends. He heads down to the fishing spot, has bank lines set up, and he desperately wants to catch some fish. Friends, he catches a nice pike, and he is eating fish. Tells us he prefers catfish while he's eating that pike. Friends, he almost chokes on one of the bones. Those pikes are very, very bony, and we learned that the medical team response time is about 45 minutes. All right, friends, day 8 now. It's 3:19 p.m. Still the same day. A little bit later in the afternoon, the show goes over to William. He's 49 years old from Labrador, Canada, and he finishes his shelter. It's pretty nice. It's an A-frame type shelter, and he wraps the tarp around it. It's small and cozy, and he sets off to find some clay, friends, to build that fireplace. We see him down there on the riverbank, and he takes one of his gators as a container to gather some clay. Now, William is one of the contestants that did not bring a bow and arrow, friends. So he sees a grouse in his area, and he sets a snare with some wire on the end of a long stick. And he shows us footage of him trying to snare that grouse around the neck with the snare wire on a long stick. And I'll be doggone, friends, he gets one. I've never seen that. He snares a grouse, and he snares a second one. Friends, he gets 2 grouse off this long stick, no bow and arrow. So good on William. William takes those 2 grouse, and he's got this big rock face on his property. So he takes those 2 grouse and he stuffs them in the crevice of the rock face and covers it up with some small rocks, friends. Good on William. Now, friends, it's day 9, 10:13 in the morning, and the show goes over to Sarah. Sarah's 48 years old from Alaska, USA, and she's had a bad morning of fishing. So she goes back to work on the shelter, adding layers of debris on the shelter, and an owl lands right next to her shelter, friends, and for a while she doesn't see it. It's a northern hawk owl, hawk-like behavior. They like to hunt during the day like a hawk. And the Gwich'in hunters, the natives, they used to use these hawks and other birds. They would look to them to have them point in the direction of the caribou. So she finally sees that northern hawk owl, and she videos it. Beautiful bird. So she goes out for some foraging, and she finds some sweet veg. It's an edible root, sweet like carrots when you cook it. So she finds a bunch of that. She's doing good at foraging, but needs protein. She heads back to her lake, and Sarah has lost 9 pounds since the lodge. Sees a grouse, nails him with her bow and arrow, and cleans, gets some fish bait from the innards of that spruce grouse, she cooks up some bolete mushrooms, some sweet veg, and has a little bit of protein from that grouse. Her confidence is building. So good on Sarah. All right, friends, it's day 9 now, 2:32 p.m. The show goes back over to Dusty. Dusty's working on building a nice smoker. He's got a real nice shelter, all log cabin shelter. He's got a log A-frame, real nice smoker, all ready to go for when he gets some food. When he sees a grouse. Friends, he gets a grouse, but he didn't have his camera rolling. So he tells us, he levels with us, he tells us it took about 3 or 4 shots to get that grouse. He's got a real nice bushcraft camp log pole shelter, nice waist-high table, and he tells us his belly's not doing good, friends. It's hurting a lot. He's been burping a lot. Cleaning the grouse and wants to boil the whole thing. Plucks it, takes all the feathers and puts the feathers in one of his gaiters. And he's very, very worried about that he might have beaver fever. That's that Giardia, friends, from the water he's been drinking. All right, friends, it's day 10 now, 10:13 a.m. The show goes over to Sarah. And she's in her shelter braiding her long hair. And she shows us a picture that she brought that her grandkids drew for her. Very nice picture. On the top, it's got a polar bear. On the bottom, it's a picture of her shelter. She hangs it up in her shelter. And she's back to fishing, friends. She owns a fishing lodge back home. So she's got a lot of pressure. She feels a lot of pressure that she should be doing good with the fishing. We see her make some gorge hooks. Some primitive, back before our metal hooks that we have today, they used to use those gorge hooks. She sharpens a stick, both ends of because the fish suck, they inhale the bait, and then that thing will turn sideways in the neck and catch the fish that way. So she makes about 6 or 7 of those gorge hooks, and then she goes down to get those innards from that grouse that she stored up in some spruce boughs. She hung it up in the tree, friends. She gets there. Friends, all her fish bait, all those spruce grouse innards are gone, and she thinks it's from those old camp robbers, those Canadian jays. Maybe. And she says she needs to stay positive and move on, so she does. And on the way back to camp, friends, she finds a whole mess of bolete mushrooms. Fills up her hat and her jacket. She finds 2 large patches of bolete mushrooms. So good on her. Those boletes are rich in protein, fiber, and iron. Good on her. All right, friends, it's day 10 still, 3:43 in the afternoon now, and the show goes back over to Dusty. He's not feeling well, and he forces himself to eat some of that grouse, and he can't take it anymore, friends. He's in a lot of pain. He reveals to us what he's been hiding, and he hasn't gone number 2 in 10 days, friends. Wow. Dusty taps out on day 10 about 3:45, friends. So the show moves on to day 11, 10:21 in the morning. There's 7 people left now. 7 people remain, and the show goes to William. It's 47 degrees, and he strips down into the buff to soak up some sun. Trying to stay dry, friends, and we know these participants, they only get 2 pair of underwear. So he's trying to keep everything dry, and he's trying to dry out. After sunbathing, he heads to the food cache. Remember those grouse that he hid in the rock? Friends, he gets there and he finds feathers all over the ground. Something ate both of those spruce grouse, friends. And they think it's a pine marten. Those are those agile climbers that can squeeze into very small crevices. Could have been a pine marten. All right, friends, day 11, 3:56 p.m., and the show goes over to Jake. He's 42 years old from Idaho, USA, and he's getting sick of eating berries. He needs some meat. So he goes down to check the old gill net. The gill net's tangled up, nothing in it. So he moves the gill net to a new location and then back towards camp to do some laundry. Builds a fire, boils up some water, and he wants to boil his underwear to clean them. And friends, he forgot to bring his gloves with him. So he tries to move the pot with a handful of grass, and he burns his hand, spills the hot water on the other hand, burns both hands. The one hand's got about second, maybe third degree burns on it, friends. So he's back at camp using that old medical supply kit, that emergency kit, wraps his hand with gauze. So, man, bad luck on him. So day 12, 1:13 p.m., and the show goes over to Timber. Timber's 35 years old from Indiana, USA, and he shows us his highest perch on his plot of land where he can survey the entire thing. He turns the camera all the way around, and we can see those big grassy open areas where he saw that big bull moose, friends. And those moose, they love to graze in those wetlands where the concentration of sodium is high in those saturated plants. He really wants a moose bad, friends, because remember, he missed that big bull moose. Works on his gill net, and he works on that thing all day till about 7 p.m. that night. He doesn't finish it, but he gets a lot done. Goes down to check the scent lines on the riverbank about 7:49. Did not have the camera on, but gets a big old 34-inch pike. 8:42, a little bit later, about an hour later, he checks the other lines. He got another one. So he got 2 pike. Good on Timber. Friends, it's day 13 now, about 9:32 in the morning, and it's still on Timber. The show's still showing Timber. He's got a big old nosebleed. So he's got a handful of leaves, friends. He's trying to capture all the blood and stop that nosebleed because he wants to burn the blood in a fire. He doesn't want to attract any bears from that blood scent. So smart on Timber. He starts on a permanent shelter, friends, as he said it was getting a lot colder last night. And all he has are big old trees in his area. So he decides to make a big old lean-to. It's basically a cabin attic with a back wall. And we see him chink all the cracks with moss. It's a beautiful A-frame, huge, massive log shelter. He's standing on top of it. It's super sturdy. All right, friends, day 13, 4:31. The show goes over to Jake. He's redressing that burned hand, and he's worried about infection. Checks the gill net. He's got 2 pike in the gill net. And his new spot pays off big time, friends. So good on Jake. We see him build a simple smoker. It's an A-frame smoker, and he covers it with spruce boughs. All right, friends, it's day 14, 9:37 in the morning. The show goes back over to Timber. He's eating a good hearty breakfast in front of that beautiful, nice A-frame shelter. While he's eating, he heard something walking, friends. Ooh, behind him. So he sneaks to his shelter to get that bow and arrow, friends. As he's sneaking over to the shelter, this owl runs and dive bombs his head, almost knocks him in the head, and it's on film. It's a beautiful shot, friends, of that. It's another one of those hawk owls. And friends, he gets up there out of the timber out in the bush, and he's scoping, and he sees another big bull moose in his area, friends. So he says, in Jesus' name, please help me kill this moose. Friends, he decides to go down by the riverbank, sneak along the riverbank, and then his plan is to get up through the brush and get a shot off. Friends, as he's hiking over there, he's praying to God. He's saying, God, please let me get this moose. He comes up off the riverbank, draws that arrow back on that big bull moose, friends. And that's right where the show ends. The show ends there, friends. There's 7 people left. It's a heck of a place for the end of the show, but it's going to keep the suspense up. 7 people remain, friends. And that's my recap of Season 11 of Alone, Episode 4, titled Legacy. Legacy, friends, up there in the Arctic Circle. Friends, I want to thank you for stopping by the channel. I appreciate everything you do for the channel, all your views, all your likes, all your shares, but most importantly, all your comments. Please leave me a comment and let me know who you think's going to win this thing. I think Timber is looking very strong, and he's got all those moose in his area, friends. All right. Please, please don't depart from the faith. And if you haven't already, please give your life to Jesus, friends. He died on the cross for you. Just invite him into your heart. He'll come in. He'll save you. You'll have everlasting life. He loves you very much. He loves me. Do it today, friends. Don't wait. And as always, God is good. God is great. I see y'all on the next video. Already got a date.